So, very warm welcome back, everyone. This week, we will be carrying forward our learnings from last week, where we had built our first node project and looked at a little bit of skeleton of package.json and whatnot. So, we'll dive a little bit deeper on that, learn what node package manager is, and we'll take it from there. So, let me share my screen and so let me share my screen. So, last week, we saw how to create a new project, how we essentially created a new project was, and let me open the terminal here. We create a directory. You can create it using a mkdir and say my new project or give whatever project name, and then go to that directory by doing command cd my new project. Hopefully, I'm audible. Let me know if you guys face any challenges. Okay. Uh, After you do that, we still haven't created our new node project. Uh, to start our new project, we give npm init command. So remember, we had done this uh, last last week, sorry. And here we are using npm. npm is known as node manager, node package manager, and the node package manager allows you to create, manage, and distribute various packages or other, in simpler terms, your node projects or somebody else's node project. It allows you to create and share those packages. So let's hit this. So essentially, we are creating a new project. We can leave this as is project name, or you can change it to whatever you like. So my awesome node project, and then you can leave version as is. Description, you can provide some description. Entry point, you can leave as index.js. Test command, you can leave empty. Git repository, you can leave empty for now. Keywords, you can leave empty as well. Author, you can give your name, for example, Anuj, and license ISE. And it'll finally ask if everything looks correct. And it says, yes, everything is correct. And if you see in our Visual Studio Code, there is a new folder created with the file called packet.json. And this has the exact details. Let me make this a little bigger. This has the exact details as we had specified here. So this we saw last week. We will be taking this learning a step forward by leveraging external packages. But before we go there, right, uh, let's look at the command that we had used to sort of, okay, command we had used was npm start. So let's say, and how did we reach to that command? So let's add a file under this called index.js, and just for now, just simply the console.log hello world, just put hello world. And we can run this now using our terminal and by giving command node index.js, and we see our hello world printed here. But as you might recall, we had a special way to do this, and that was using start command instead of directly giving the node command. So start command was node and then exact same instructions, node index.js. So whatever you're going to do, it's running this command on your terminal would execute your node.js code. You would use same thing and uh, you're able to execute. So let's do this. So instead of doing node, now going forward, we'll do npm start. So this is our first learning, important learning. In your package.json file, there is an object called scripts. And under that, you can define various scripts, test, start. So test we will learn in the future. Uh, uh, and sorry, God, uh, we will learn the test in future, as well as there is another important command that you might encounter while you're working in real world projects, which is called dev. So that we will learn as well today. So this is very brief of how we created our project. Now let's say you want to use a project created by someone else because it offers something that you don't want to rebuild. So to find such projects, one good place is GitHub and the other, and most of those projects will be available as an npm package as well as on the GitHub. So let's search for one of those projects, which is called NODEJS. NODEJS is a very uh, friendly Node.js library, which offers you a lot of methods on arrays and collections and stuff. You don't want to rebuild this library and sort of instead, what you want to do is use NodeJS to directly leverage in your project. To do that, all you have to do is go here in your terminal. Let's do terminal and do npm install lodash. And if you see, uh, let me go to the right directories, to the my new project, npm install lodash. You see there is a new object that got added to our package.json file. Let me make it slightly smaller so you can see, which is called lodash. This is an external library that got added to our project, and we were able to, and it's at the specific version as well. We will see about so this version 4.1721. We'll see what this caret means very soon. But this is where I added an external library in my project, and now if you see all these packages are also available on the GitHub, so you can actually see the source code of Lodash as well, and you're able to uh, sort of from here also they provide the documentation of what Lodash can do and what Lodash has and whatnot. So that is Lodash. Very similarly, this is how we install a new project. So this is a project that we installed for uh, our this new project only. So this project Lodash or this library Lodash is to be used only with our project. Very similarly, you can install certain uh, node packages globally on your machine. So let's see one of those packages, HTTP server. So HTTP server is a global package which allows you to, and you can always check the definitions here. HTTP server, I believe. HTTP, HTTP server. So you can do npm install. So instead of every time writing npm install, you can write I as well. But we'll for now stick to. And after install, you can see G for global. So once I do this, this package HTTP server is available everywhere on all the projects that are available on my computer. And because it's globally available, it becomes a command itself as well. Like how npm is a command on my machine, you can do HTTP server. And let's see what it does. It started a web server on this URL on my machine, and I closed it. But it started a web server on this URL. So I can go here, and this is a web server that is running, and I can see all the packages of that folder. But I mean, this class is nothing to learn with what HTTP server is. But instead, we are learning what it means to have a global Node.js dependency installed on your computer. Now, this HTTP server can be used with previous project that we made in last week's class as well. So moving on, if you see when we do npm install, there is a new folder that gets created, node modules. And in that node modules, we will have the complete code of this NODEJS package and uh, and and any other packages that you might have. So this very self-explanatory. Anyways, if you're using that code somewhere, it has to be living somewhere in your machine. It can't be just there on a website. So that's where when you do npm install, it gets added here. We looked at local installation, global installation. Now you can, when you do npm install, you can exactly specify. So here, so what do I mean by that is when we first did npm install lodash, we did not mention anything. So it went ahead and installed the latest available package 4.17.21. But if you wanted a specific version, you can do, let's say you want 4.16. Hope this is available. This will install the 4.16 version. Let's say 4.16.1. Now this will be useful um, in your professional projects when you go and work somewhere, because there you will be having an issue of just not using the latest available all the time, because latest packages depend upon not just uh, what's available, but your project, overall project as well as the Node.js version your project is using. So any questions there? I'll pause for 10 seconds and give you guys an answer time to sort of think of any questions you might have, because we are covering a lot of stuff. So it is okay to have questions on this, okay? Uh, and do not feel shy to ask. So I'll maybe pause for a few seconds and let you guys think if you guys have any questions. Okay, so moving and look like no questions. So important aspect is Uh, Another, before we move to what developer dependencies are, uh, this is so we when we have uh, this kind of a dependency in our package.json, it's a default installation. As we saw when we installed Lodash default, we saw that it was having a caret icon in front of it. And this essentially means that you are allowed to install any higher versions uh, as long as the major version is 2. That means you could essentially install from 2.3.4 to 2.9.9, but you cannot install 3.0. So it locks on the major version. Uh, and then there's another notation you might see a lot of times, which is tilde. And this allows for minor version or the patch version. So starting from 2.3.4 to 2.3, 2.3.9. So this number 3, cannot be upgraded. And asterisk means any version that is allowed, which is not good. You should just be playing with this and not actually doing it in your real applications. So these are 3 different ways you can define your dependencies in your package.json. So let me go to see. This is a caret representation. That means you can go all the way up to 4.9.9.9, but not 5. You cannot go 5 here. When you say this kind of tilde, then you can go up to 4.16.9, but you cannot, or 99, whatever you like. But you cannot go to 17. And how these rules get enforced, and how do you ensure that these versions are, so let's say your team of 5 developers working on the same project, how do you ensure all of you have the same version? For that, there is an important file called package.json, which automatically gets generated. So let me delete this file, recycle bin, and npm install again. So let's say if you could essentially delete your node modules as well as package dot the dark mode is not working properly. You could essentially delete package lock JSON and node modules, and you could still install all the dependencies by, let me pivot this to a stable version that we were using, by just firing the command npm install. When you do npm install, it goes and looks at this object dependencies and installs all the packages listed under dependency. This dependency. Npm install, not stop. And our node module is back with the lodash as well as package lock. And package lock exactly tells the system that this is the URL from where I got my latest package, and this was the integrity SAR code. This ensures that all of us, if you are working on a single project, our codes are in sync. So when you go on in a real world project, you will be using Git. And when you do Git, right, you should always commit package.json in your Git, and you should never commit your node module. So how do you ensure never committing node module? Committing will be easy. So let's do a git init here. If you see, Uh, there is you can add you can create a new file called .git ignore and add node modules. That- And this way, your node modules now are no longer green, and it's like slightly darkish color if you have. And mm, they will not be committed and pushed to your Git server. So this is important aspect as well to ensure that you use Git ignore with your existing projects. So moving on, there is we looked at global dependencies, local dependencies, and uh, there is something called developer dependencies as well. So what those developer dependencies are, and let's just do this first. And to actually install a developer dependency, you have to use command save dev. Ensure it is same as npm install, but if you are installing just a regular dependency, and we'll see what the difference between developer dependency and regular dependency is. So you could, for your regular project, right, in your hello world, if you're in your project file, if you're doing something like this, then this is your regular dependency, which you are actually leveraging inside your code. Whereas developer dependencies are essentially dependencies which help you do your development task faster. For example, one of the most important aspect is every time I um, change something, I have to rerun. So I have to do node npm start, and then only I'll see npm uh, npm the hello world new updated. If I made it two, then I still need to run it. Come to terminal and run it. Now this is not a good developer experience because that wastes time switching between terminal and your code editor. So you can use a dependency called uh, nodemon, which watches all the files and reruns your node code. Now this dependency, the nodemon, has nothing to do with your actual output. Your actual output is this file only, index.js, and whatever code the index.js has. However, uh, to make development life easy, you can use something called developer dependencies and maybe add a special command that when I'm developing the code, instead of node, uh, use nodemon and run my file. So let's see what the beauty of this thing will be. So now let's come back to our terminal and let me clear this. So now npm run dev. So any command which are not test and start, you need to append it by run. So that's why run is a common command. If we called it something else, let's say if we had another command, some other command, then we would call it npm run sum. So that way, be, besides test and start, you have to always append npm run. Now let's do npm run dev, and we have hello world 3. Now not going to touch the terminal, and let's do hello world 3. And I just saved my file, and nodemon ran our code again without me actually coming to the terminal. It runs the code again, making my life easier. Again, this is just the development time update, and This has nothing to do with actual project. That's why we call this dependency as development dependency. And just like our regular dependency, which you can just simply install by not using savedev command, goes into dependencies. Development dependencies go inside an object called dev dependencies. So this dependencies will never be included when your actual project is delivered and it's actually running in live environment, in production and whatnot. So that is important. Now, this is where some of the things that we don't see much on the we don't see much on the tutorials that we have for Node.js. But when you go to a real world project, when you actually go to a real world project, you might not be able to connect to npm rc directly, but instead there might be um, an internal repository which holds all the node projects. And in that case, you might see that this is just a note. Okay, guys, just make sure this is just a note, and it will not be something that you should be worrying too much if you sort of don't see it in any coursework or document. So there is something called npm rc file, .npm rc file, and here you can provide the URL of your registry. Let's spell it, and then say your HTTP. That's my company registry.com. And so when you do this, instead of your package is getting installed from this place, it will go for this URL. So you might see a lot of real world projects where you go to work and PMRC file being used. But yeah, just keep this as your note and nothing more. Uh, Another thing that you should be familiar with is uh, how to put this. So all of this learning that we have, how to put it together in a real project. So before I go to the real project, uh, anybody has any questions? Close all others. Okay. So if no questions, let's look at the real project where we are going to. Hi, any questions? Okay. So let's move on to real project. So this project uses two dependencies, lodas that we saw and Axios. Axios is another important library that you will definitely be working with at some point. It allows you to communicate to other APIs and other services. So what do I mean by that? Let's look at the code. So we have first, we have these two dependencies, Axios and Lodash in our project. And let's look at our code. So in our code, we are importing both of these libraries on top, and then we are having a movie URL. So this is external service URL, which gets the data of movie. So you could copy this URL and see what it really has. Actually, So this has a lot of data about movies and its ratings, IMDb ratings, and what year it was released, genres, and who posted the movie, and etc. etc. And the title of the movie. So we can use Axios to get this data in our Node.js project. Here we are having a movie function, fetch movie function, where we give it the URL axios.get, and we get the data of the response. And then once we get the response, we display this movie details, but we don't want to display everything. So before we display everything, before we display, we highlight how many movies we got and then sort the movies by IMDb rating. Give me a second. Sorry, I'm back. So we sort the movies by IMDb rating. So if you see, there are ratings for each movie, so 9.3 and so on and so forth. And then we take the top five movies based on ratings and then display the details. So see here how we are leveraging Axios, then NODEJS for sorting the movie as well as displaying just the top five movies. So here we are calling an API, getting movie, and then sorting the movies by IMDb rating and displaying the movie. And uh, this is our main function, which is we execute. So let's go to the package.json of this. So we have npm start command. Let's do it first by npm start. Npm start. Let me make this bigger. So we got total 122 movies using Axios. And using Lodash, we sorted the movies based on their rating, IMDb rating, and then we are displaying the top five movies. So this is our simple project, but it teaches us a lot where we are using external dependencies, calling a service, and then displaying only subset of the data that we got. Now, if I instead of six, if I five instead of five, if I had to see the six movies, then I'd have to go back here and rerun our npm start command. So instead of five, I'm getting the sixth movie. And this is where our learning about the the node comes in handy. So and I have added another command npm run dev, npm run dev. And now we are seeing six movies, and let's just change it to seven movies. And now we start to see seven movies without doing anything. So here we see everything that we learned today in practice using external dependencies, calling an API, using Lodash, using Axios, and then leveraging our dev dependency of Nodemon to automatically refresh our project output when something changes. So this is putting all of the learnings together. I know we covered a lot of things, and stop me if you feel we are going fast, but yes, this is what we have in our agenda for today, and I'm open to any questions. I'll stop sharing so you guys can think for a few minutes. In the meantime, when you guys are coming up with your questions, I'll take a quick screenshot so attendance is marked.